What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar with C-Zar Gets Crypto, and we are talking about the DXY today at the request of Mr. iCigar. I got a notepad here, man, that I write things down on. It's easier instead of flipping between my phone and the screen. Whenever I've got a whole bunch of requests, it's easier to write it down and see it. And I put a special little star and box next to this one because I'm excited. I'm actually excited to talk about the DXY, man. Not because I know of something exciting, but just because it's something I haven't talked about in a while, and I really appreciate this request. So good one, iCigar. Definitely a good one to check in on every now and then. I want to start off with, besides buttering up this request here, I want to start off with something that I've mentioned in my previous videos talking about the DXY. Here, right, we found our low in 2008, right? We found our low. We had the housing market crash or correction or whatever, but like truthfully, the DXY started going down way before that. We just, we didn't feel the economic impacts. I mean, maybe we were starting to beforehand, but we really felt it 2007, 2008. Anyways, what I'm trying to get at is ever since this low, anytime that we've seen an expansion phase, which I would say this was the expansion phase, the rest of this was consolidation, right? This was the expansion phase, the rest of this was consolidation. How long did those phases last? Not the expansion phases, but the consolidation phases. Right here, up, we'll go to the top because that's where it ended, right? Consolidated, really you didn't start breaking out until this month here. That's when you broke out. You were starting to move up, sure, you found your low before then, sure, but you started to break out 66 bars after you found your high. Here you are at your high here. Yes, you expanded to right there, but really you didn't break out of this range until 63 bars, right? So you consolidated for quite a while. 63 months, I mean, 12, 24, 48, that'd be 60. That's 5.5 years. 66 months is 5.5 years. That's 5.25 years right there. So what I'm getting at is I very much expect long-term, very long-term, that the dollar is probably going to consolidate as it has previously for about 5 years, right? From the time that it found a high, which is, and I would not even say about, I'd say probably a little bit more than 5 years. But September 2022, I think it'd be safe to say that sometime in 2027, if not even potentially 2028, that we find the next expansion phase for the dollar, which is really good because whenever you're investing in things and the dollar is expanding, this is not good for your investments. This kind of movement, whenever you're investing in things that are versus the dollar, you want the dollar to go down. You want a weak dollar. That makes everything else more valuable, if that makes sense. If the dollar is stronger, that makes the dollar more valuable, which is good if you're holding the dollar. It's not good if you're holding other things. So I just want to get that out of the way. I very much do think we're going to consolidate for years now, right? That's all the way in November of 2027. Potentially it would be in 2028 before this thing sees this next expansion phase. Maybe not the bottom of it, but before it breaks out of wherever this consolidation phase, it'll probably be more obvious in about 5 years, or maybe less than 5 years, because we've been consolidating already now for about a year, so about 4 years from now. But enough time to get a nice cycle of bullishness for crypto and for stocks and maybe for other things too. But let's get into this. That's a hell of an introduction. But right now on the monthly, you look like we have 1 day and 19 hours left on this month. Looking like you're going to close below this range here. You kind of consolidated right here, and you're moving down. And that's okay. Yes, it's in this previous price range already, but your lows here, let's see. Your lows here, I guess this one was barely in that price range. This one was a little bit more in it, but that's okay. I think we could even go a little bit lower if we really wanted to. But we're probably near the low nonetheless. But we went this low already. I'm sure that maybe we don't go lower than that low, but I do think that we're going to go lower than we are right now. Breaking below the 50 here, I would think that this thing is going to see a move all the way down on a monthly basis down to its oversold zone, as it had here, as it had here on these lows, right? And then even on these lows here, it didn't quite get oversold, but it went a lot lower than it is now in the RSI. So this ultimately breaking this price range, if we do close the month here or lower, and I bet we do, breaking this price range, breaking the 50, I think that means that we're getting started with this next leg down. We're probably doing an A, B, C kind of move right now. Maybe we're going to get a D and an E, but we'll see. Weekly RSI, you are at an area that you've bounced once, twice, 3 times. Could you bounce here? It's possible. There are a couple of different things to take into consideration, though. One, we were above the green line all of these times. Okay. 2, we had not come from the overbought zone, right? We were kind of winding up where here you had your whole move up. And then I was going to say 3 were below the green line, but I guess that's 1. So all that to say, I would think that we've got lower to go in the DXY. Top to bottom here, 1272 extension. I don't hear, I know a lot of people already assume that the dollar is going to go to 0. That's not going to happen, not in our lifetime, not in your grandkids' lifetime. It's not happening. Why? Why am I so confident in that? The government needs a means of doing things illegally. They do that in cash. Everybody wants to say that crypto is the currency of choice for nefarious use, but it's cash. It's cash. Don't make any mistakes in it. The United States government misplaces like trillions of dollars a decade. They can't do that if it's on a blockchain. They can't misplace, you can't just misplace trillions of United States taxpayer money on blockchain. You can't do that. So they're going to keep it in cash. There's going to be a physical means of transacting forever because the dirty players in the world, they need that, right? Anyways, I'm getting off on a whole different topic. That's my theory, at least, as to why I don't think cash is going away. But I'm not hearing anybody talking about it going to 0. I would bet that as that narrative becomes, as you hear that in the news more often, and you might hear it depending on what channel you go to. There's people who always think the dollar is going to 0. But as it becomes a more mainline story, China's going to overtake the dollar. BRICS is going to overtake the dollar. The dollar's going to 0. When that becomes a mainstream story again, that's how you know we're probably at the low. So I bet that that's going to come in any month now. But for the time being, probably do move lower. I think that we do. Daily RSI looks weak as hell, man. Yeah, I think it does want to go lower. Where's it going to go is the main question that I've been bouncing around on. Now, I don't know if it goes lower than this low. I really don't know if it does. If it were to go lower than this low, we could see the dollar being at a valuation of about 97.57 on the index, maybe even a 95, which going from 100 to 95 on the dollar, that's huge, man. That's ginormous. That's a big old dump, man. Even down to 97.5, that's a big old dump. So maybe we go there, maybe we don't. I'm kind of under the impression that we are at an area that we've bounced before. We are in an area that we bounced before here. We might go a little bit lower, but ultimately bounce somewhere in this area. I do think we have lower to go, but we're close to the end of this, which could mean also, in another kind of respect, that as we're moving up, we might see a lull, and we might move up higher than this high. I would bet we do, maybe at some point, in this consolidation phase. I don't think we're going to consolidate below this high this whole 4-year period. I bet we do go above this high at some point, come back down, whatever. But right now, whenever we turn around, that might mean that there's going to be a pause in the markets across the board, right? Because it's easier for things to go off, to pop off. I mean, you've probably noticed in crypto, if you pay attention to crypto, that things have been popping off recently. Well, the dollar's been losing value recently, so that kind of goes hand in hand. As this starts to move up, it probably will slow things down or put things at a hold for a second. But again, looking at the daily, I would assume you go lower. You're probably near the end of this move down. You're probably near it, but I don't think you're quite there yet. Let's see. Hard to say. There's not really any good fibs to take it off of. Yeah. Basically, I guess I would say I bet you find your low either at this low or probably a little bit above it, if I really, really had to guess. Low to high here. Look at that. 886 all the way down there. You probably go down there. Maybe right at 100. Man, that's so perfect. Like that's 100.4. 100 itself would actually be a little bit lower. Maybe you do go to 100, but psychological support, you probably bounce off of this area down here and then make your way up. Maybe you form a lower high, maybe you do trudge all the way up to get a higher high, something like that, but either way, down a little bit more. I keep repeating myself, down a little bit more, and then up. I think you're near the end of this down move. Let's see if there's anything else I can do to kind of solidify the idea. Let's see, top to bottom here, 18 bars. Top to bottom here, was that 12 bars? 5 bars. Not quite 12. Top to bottom here, 7 bars. Top to where you are now, not the bottom, that's 12 bars. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's anything like to compare to over here. That might not be doing anything, I don't know. You just broke through the green line. I bet you get some follow through to the downside. And then also what's not uncommon, what is common is to test the green line for support or resistance after you break through it and then go lower. So for now, probably a little bit lower again and then up. That's really all I got to say. So if you like the video, hit that like button, hit the thumbs up. Weekly RSI does look a bit weak, though you are at an area that you've bounced before, you know, even back here. But I think this can only hold so many times. You're probably going to break it this time. If you don't, I'd be surprised, but you are at an area that you've bounced in price too. Daily RSI looks very, very weak. Rejecting the 50 here, rejecting the green line. I mean, you're just getting into the oversold zone right now. I think you do go lower, personally. But again, not by much. So, yeah. Anyways, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want to see more. If you stuck around, I'll do this little, let's see, this little thing here. I should have it on here, man. I don't know why it's not a favorite. Let's see, hold on. Correlation coefficient. And let's correlate it to Bitcoin, BTC, USD on the index. Yeah, we'll correlate it. So taking it out to the monthly here, you can see that we are going through we go through correlated phases, uncorrelated phases, correlated phases, uncorrelated phases, you know, neutral correlation. That doesn't necessarily mean we're correlated or not, but I would say that right now we're heading towards a more correlated phase. So just because the dollar goes up doesn't mean Bitcoin has to go down, but that also doesn't mean that Bitcoin has to go up. It still is below the zero, so technically if this thing moves up, you would expect Bitcoin to move down a little bit, or maybe it moves sideways, right? Something like that. But they are getting more correlated as the months go on, and probably at some point early, or maybe actually based off of this, I guess that'd be like potentially later in 2024, we might be above this zero and be more correlated than uncorrelated. So yeah, that's all I got. Just food for thought, things to check in on. It's nice to see, you know, zooming out here too, it would make sense if we found support somewhere in the near future, because we are at previous areas of resistance here, current areas of support. Like, it makes sense. But all that to say, I do think we go a little bit lower. Yeah. Have I missed anything? I keep trying to end the video, man. Yeah, maybe you bounce off 100, go back up to 104, and then make your way down to 98, maybe. But that'll probably take a lot of time. So anyways, that's all I got. Bye-bye. For real. I'm serious. I'm going to end it. Don't get your hopes up. It's done. Bye-bye.